The Lewis Prize for Music partners with leaders in diverse and vibrant communities who invest in young people through music. We'll give 3 $500,000 Accelerator Awards each January through 2024 to creative youth development organizations that prioritize music as a resource for achieving equitable individual and community strength, voice, and agency. We encourage youth music programs, large and small, from all over the country to apply. How does this work? First, our application opens on our website at theLewisPrize.org. All applications submitted are then reviewed by our Round 1 external readers. Our Round 1 readers submit recommendations to the Lewis Prize for Music team to review the recommended applications and narrow down the pool. Round 2 external readers review the narrowed pool and make finalist recommendations to the Lewis Prize for Music Board of Directors. Next, finalists are notified, submit an RFP, and host virtual site visits for the Lewis Prize for Music team. We publicly announce the finalists prior to the finalist review panel deliberation. The finalist review panel is composed of young people and professionals who read the finalists' full applications and make recommendations to the Lewis Prize for Music Board of Directors. And finally, each January, our top awardees are publicly announced and we celebrate. That's our process. Visit our website at theLewisPrize.org for updates and resources.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this second webinar about the Lewis Prize for Music Accelerator Award process. I'm Anne Gregg. I'm a member of the field learning team for the Lewis Prize for Music and really happy to be with all of you today. Before we get into introductions and meeting our amazing group of conversationalists today, I just want to tell you a little bit about the Lewis Prize for Music if you are here for the first time with us, and if you know us and our friends, just to remind us why we're here and what this is all about. So the Lewis Prize for Music is a national philanthropy. It's $20 million committed across 5 years, and we are currently in year 3 of the Lewis Prize. We celebrate young people, and at the heart of everything are the amazing young people that we meet all over the country who are involved in creative youth development through music, who really exhibit leadership, and who are a part of organizations where leadership, equity, vision, and systems change come together in really amazing ways. Special thanks to everyone at the Lewis Prize for Music, our wonderful team, as well as our board and founder and chairman, Dan Lewis. And to make sure everyone knows, the video you just saw was about the Accelerator Award process, and those applications are open now through July 16th at 5 p.m. Pacific. We had a webinar earlier that really talked about the criteria and the eligibility for the Accelerator Awards, and that webinar is available. If you missed it, it was recorded, and so you can access that again. And you can see a little bit of the timeline here through semifinalists, finalists, where there is an RFP and site visit, and final awardees announced in mid-January for those $500,000 Accelerator Awards. Our conversation today is really to look a little deeper at the things that the Lewis Prize for Music cares about, and who better to do that with than people who have received the award this past year, and who also work with the Lewis Prize and help understand what's happening all across the country. So we're going to get into introductions, and I will introduce everyone individually because not only do we want to meet them a little more personally, but we have some fantastic videos to share from their work as well. So it's my pleasure to first introduce Celina Miranda, who is the Executive Director of Hyde Square Task Force in Boston, Massachusetts. And Celina, if you want to just thank you for being here, and if you want to say a little bit about you, what you guys do, and intro the video we'll see.
Great, thank you, Anne. It's a pleasure to be with everyone here today to talk more about sort of, creative youth development and all the wonderful work that the Lewis Prize is supporting. So Hyde Square Task Force is a creative youth development organization. We are located in Boston's Latin Quarter, which is located in the Jamaica Plain neighborhood of Boston. Hyde Square Task Force uses Afro-Latin arts to engage mostly BIPOC youth in out-of-school programming, bringing community together and helping first-generation students enroll and complete for post-secondary education. Our core program, Jóvenes en Acción, or Youth in Action, combines the arts with education support and leadership development for youth in grades 8 through 12. And the video that you're about to see captures what Jóvenes en Acción has looked like over the past 15 months, as many around the world have done. Our work moved to this virtual mode. So we adapted all of our programming. And I think what's warmed my heart the most is to see that despite all the changes and the sudden shifts that we had to do, our youth have stayed engaged and they've continued to create. And the joy that you see has just been amazing to see them continue to be themselves and to pursue their arts. So please enjoy the video.
My name is Farida. I am an uprising senior. I am a part of the ACT program at Hyde Square Task Force, also known as HSTF.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Carolina. I'm 14 years old. I am a rising freshman at Boston Latin School, and I am part of the female program at Hyde Square Task Force.
Hola, mi nombre es Cedras. Yo soy un joven de Hyde Square.
Right now, we are going through a global racial pandemic. And due to coronavirus, we did have to move our summer program and make it virtual.
Corona has affected a lot of people, young people, old people, especially a lot of businesses.
We talked about adjusting to society and how coronavirus just came and said, boop, I'm here, I'm taking everything in my way, I don't care, that's it.
But Hyde Square Task Force didn't let that get to them. Honestly, they made a platform for us on Zoom to be able to still, do our programs.
I'm with my crew right now, and I'm just gonna let them say hi real quick. Hold on. Say hi, guys.
Hi.
Estamos comenzando ya la clase y para comenzar, comenzamos hablando cómo fue el fin de semana y qué estaremos viendo durante el día. Después que terminamos como un minifuego, algo así. Y después comenzamos con lesiones de grupo.
This week, we're focusing on creativity. For example, how you can use creativity to, deal with any problems that life throws at you. Of course, we focus on dances and expressing yourself through movement. We're really inclusive with every type of dance that we do, but we do focus a lot on Latin dances because we are located in Boston's Latin Quarter in Jamaica Plain.
Y así que mi experiencia en Hyde Square ha sido de lo más increíble. En este verano he aprendido un poco a aprender la guitarra. También una de las experiencias increíbles con Hyde Square es que escribí mi primera canción. Mi segunda canción. Tengo 2 canciones escritas por mí misma, así que ha sido increíble para mí, una experiencia única con todos los maestros.
Fue un día como cualquiera, esa tarde que te miré. Por primera vez me hipnotizaste.
I started at Hyde Square Task Force the summer of 2019, and it was a very warm welcome.
Find somebody up on your screen and bow into them.
Figured out how to still play games with us and, do our daily routines we used to do in real life virtually, and how to keep people encouraged and enthusiastic about our situation.
Okay, let's go on the dance floor.
Found ways to teach us about things that were important, like college, our surroundings, the environment that we're in, what's going on in the world right now, how we can prevent, how we can help. Hashtag Say Her Name was made by Black women for Black women who died from police brutality or white vigilante attacks and didn't get media coverage or justice for the heinous crimes committed against them.
No sé cómo expresarlo, me siento en familia, me siento bien tratado con los jóvenes, son muy amables, hay un ambiente genial, me encanta.
And they've even figured out how to still provide senior mentoring for their senior youth.
Really accepting. It's a really tight community. It's almost like a family, honestly.
Our task force is overall a really friendly organization. It's a place where young people like myself can learn how to audition for a play, how to sing for a crowd, how to dance for the whole world to see and not have the feeling that you're embarrassed or that you're not good enough or that, no one's gonna take you serious. This place gives you opportunity.
Hemos disfrutado mucho. Espero les guste. Ha sido increíble. Y así que no sé hasta cuándo, pero espero hasta pronto. Así que adiós.
Oh, beautiful. Me encanta. That was wonderful. Thank you for sharing that video. And along with Celina, we have Emeara Burns with us, who is the program director for St. Louis Story Stitchers Artist Collective. And Emeara, same question, tell us a little bit about yourself and the work you guys do, and intro the video we're going to see from St. Louis Story Stitchers.
Absolutely. I just want to say that video was amazing. Celina, I really love that so much. You made me smile. But hey, everybody, my name is Emeara. Like Ann said, I am the program director for St. Louis Story Stitchers. We are a nonprofit organization, and our mission is to document St. Louis through art and word, and to promote understanding civic pride through intergenerational relationships and literacy. And to do this, we really focus on the youth in our region. And so we have built a platform for these youth and young adults between the ages of 16 to come in and to really hone in on their gifts and talents, especially we really focus on the arts. And so we help them to develop these things and to become, young professional artists. And I'm a testament to it because I've been there since I was 16, so I got to see everything, so the video that you all are going to see basically shows how we work as a collective, whether you're a poet, whether you are a dancer or a singer, or whether you play instruments or take photos. This whole video that you're going to see was created by an individual that is in Story Stitchers, whether that's a performing artist that is older, that's been working at their craft for 15 years, or whether it's a younger artist that's only been in the game for 6 months. We want to give everybody a chance to know that they are unique, they are original, and that they are needed in order to make change and impact in our region. So here we go.
That demands a pick apart. I'm trying to reach beyond the arch. Can't walk a mile up in my shoes, cause your feet ain't got the arch. I hold my city in my heart. When you recognize just who you are, you realize what's truly yours, and they can never take it from systematic oppression. Trying to blur the vision, but I will never let my people be defined by restrictions. You see the crime rate is shifting, and corona been vicious, but I'm determined to turn the tables despite my position. Yeah, despite opposition and disloyalty, despite the pain that runs so deep. We rise and we shine and we flying, we soaring above slave mentality and all formalities and principalities with shallow feet that try to shadow me. Yeah.
That was awesome. I have a St. Louis Story Stitchers playlist that I keep close by, and we're actually going to hear a little bit of music from St. Louis Story Stitchers to take us out today. Thank you for sharing that, Mira, and for sharing your words. We have one other guest with us today, and that is my good friend, Arielle Brown, who is a member of the Lewis Prize for Music team. Arielle, you want to just say hi and what you do with us and what you're up to?
Hey y'all, I'm so glad to be here with y'all today. Yeah, it was beautiful to be rooted in witnessing that work. Thank y'all for the work that you do. I work on the knowledge generation team with the Lewis Prize for Music. And that team really is looking at the body of applicants that come in through our grant making processes each year, and really looking for opportunities to reach more people via the data that we're seeing, the places we're seeing applications from, the demographics of programs and leaders that we're seeing applications from. Yeah, and so we are internally thinking about that, how better to serve the field. And I think in a differently dialectic way, we're thinking about and building research that's collected from field surveys and other points of engagement with the larger music COID field. Yeah, that also kind of helps the field to see what brilliant work it is that y'all are doing and how we might best show up for it collectively.
Yeah, great. And so we're going to jump into a conversation about some key areas of the Lewis Prize focus that are reflected in the application. And the real purpose of today is, I hope, just that everyone listening understands who you are and your organization and the young people that you work with. If you're thinking of applying, if you're applying, be authentic to your own story and use your own words about what these things mean to you. That's our real hope and intention. And so we hope to model that today by hearing from Celina, Emeara, and also examples from across the country through Arielle and the data and the stories she's captured. Two very quick announcements. Number one, we are recording today, just for everyone to know, and that is so we can share this with people who aren't with us today. And the second thing is we will have time for Q&A at the end. So at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little icon that says Q&A. If you have questions for anyone here, please put them there and we will address them at the end. Great. So let's jump in. And one of the things that the Lewis Prize for Music is centered in is creative youth development. Sometimes you see it as CYD. And so we first just want to say, what does that mean to you guys? What does creative youth development mean to each of you as an organization? Emeara, you mind, do you want to start? You want to start with what it means to you, creative youth development?
Absolutely, I do not mind. Right when you said it, you know, what came to mind again for me was the arts, because that's just always how it was presented to me, even when I was in school, whether it was middle school or high school, and then, getting to join into Story Stitchers, it was always something dealing with the arts, and I do think that plays a big role, in that development of the youth, especially if they are creative, if they are very hands-on, or if there's something that you are offering that they would like to try, so yeah, definitely I'll bet I think of, the arts and how it just helps the youth um really become confident in who they are and finding themselves. And when they become confident in themselves, it helps them to make friends, and even like as Story Stitchers, we had friends. Some of us came from the same school. So when you have friends that you're being able to grow with, and develop with, then you become even more confident. Now you become this social person, and it just kind of helps you become a well-rounded person. um so yeah, that's definitely the main thing. And then I think the last point I'll make is another way it was presented to me is in the form of community service, you know so giving back, being creative, is not always, it doesn't always have to be a selfish thing. It could be something that helps somebody else, and that helps somebody else get through something or relate, and just knowing that they're not alone. So yeah, those are the main two things that I think of when I hear creative youth development.
Amazing. Creativity in giving. Love that. Celina, what about for you?
Sorry, it took me a second there to find my unmute button. But no, I think I would just build on Emeara's, the start of what she has said so far. It really is about centering the arts and creativity as a core way of engaging and working with young people. I think, when you look at the field of positive youth development, there are different ways that one can work with young people in a very meaningful way. But creative youth development is very distinct in that it's really using creativity, young people's creativity. The good thing about it too is that, at least for Hyde Square Task Force, right, when we think about our young people as artists, they are not necessarily the young people who have had access to formal training over many years. I think you heard Edras, which is the young man that was speaking Spanish. For him, right, he was just learning how to play the guitar. He was so proud of the fact that he had just written 2 songs. And so it really is about tapping into that creativity for young people, giving them the vehicle by which they can create. But in that process, you're having young people gain a sense of competency in themselves, right? A sense of security, confidence. And then through that, I think over time, they also develop an ability to step back and reflect, not only in what affects them directly, but also what's going on in the world. And you heard it sort of in our video, right? Our young people this particular year were reflecting a lot on the double pandemics we were facing. So it's really creating that space for reflection. And then, we could leave it at that. But I think creative youth development, if done well, also brings in the leadership development and builds a mechanism by which young people can engage as agents of change, that they can then say, okay, what am I going to do about it? Maybe it's through their art, that they're going to begin to name sort of the injustices and the things that they see and the world they envision. So I really sort of think that creative youth development has all these various dimensions where some people may think, oh, that's just arts programming for kids. And no, it's more than that. It really is about bringing it all together in this very powerful way.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And if you think of each of those words, creative, youth, development, I love what you're saying about the leadership side of development, and how to create space within what's happening in the world for young people to express that leadership within them. Arielle, anything you want to add around creative youth development?
Sure thing. Yeah, these these offerings, these definitions are so beautiful. I just want to one image came to me as y'all were speaking. And I thought about if we think about, at least for the Lewis Prize, creative youth development as, starting with musical practice and transmission of that, or pedagogy, teaching musical practice as a root place, and then also arriving at serving and showing up for and listening to whole young people, and everything that comes in between those two processes really constitutes creative youth development, right? Really kind of adds to the pot of what that practice is. However, that might show up in attending to direct needs or services outside of music and art making, or alongside it. And really, as these two organizations have amplified, looking at the intersections of that work in social change practice, and teaching young people, listening to how young people want to tell stories about the intersection of social justice and their creative practice. And I think I'll just say, because I just want folks to understand the range of CYD organizations we're in conversation with. We recently conducted a music CYD field study that collected information from organizations that represented 100 combinations of multi-genre and single genre practice, right? So people are all over the country working with music in a variety of ways. And all of that is eligible and welcomed and celebrated. It's worth noting that we really see some strong applications from folks who are doing multi-genre work. And so wanting to celebrate, if you do a little bit of everything, we welcome you to apply.
Thank you. Wow, I didn't even know that. 100 combinations of musical practice. Interesting. And I'm glad you said that word, the intersection of what happens with young people in a social justice way, towards social change, and even towards systems change. And so this is a big area that people ask about at the Lewis Prize. And so we want to center the conversation for some time in systems change. Celina, would you mind starting off on this one? What does systems change mean to you and to Hyde Square?
Yeah, so, for us at Hyde Square Task Force, I think when I think about sort of our origin, the way we started, systems change was something that was at the core, that was sort of informing the genesis of the organization. Our organization started at a time 30 years ago, at a time where our neighborhood was actually being referred to as New England's cocaine capital. And so there was a lot of drug dealing, a lot of disinvestment from the part of the city towards our neighborhood, right? It was sort of a place you don't touch, you just let it be and ignore it. And so that sort of led to neighbors coming together and saying, we're not going to accept that, and we're going to ask for more. And core to that work early on became our work with young people. And so it's always informed how we structure our work. The reality is that sort of that sea of youth, of creative youth development contributions has been very important to us, of saying, how are our young people going to be agents of change? How are they going to be working towards systems change? And really systems change, thinking of it at sort of from the very local, sort of at the neighborhood level, to then think about it from sort of at the municipal level, and to think about it at the state level and federal, right? So really thinking about it in various ways. But I think critical to all that has been identifying sort of how systems are not working for our young people and their families, right? So making that connection to how does it affect me? What's not working? So to give you sort of example of some of the campaigns our young people have taken over time, at one point, our young people were feeling very harassed in the public trains. So when they were taking public transportation, sort of the local transportation police was just not, they were feeling targeted. So they decided to launch a campaign against it and, begin to educate and to say, this is not acceptable. And we're going to engage in dialogue and we're going to change the way that you are working with us because it's not working. That's one example. The other was around health ed. Our young people felt that, there wasn't, schools were not meeting the needs of young people from a health, perspective. And they started to demand sort of what they wanted and what they saw the system needed to do to better meet their needs. And so that's something, so we're always sort of having a campaign that's going on that's really informed by what's affecting our young people the most. What do they care about? I always ask them, what sort of ticks you off in the morning when you get up and you're just like, that shouldn't be that way. And from there, we start to sort of create the campaigns that we work on, but really thinking about systems change being critical. It's why we exist as an organization. As an organization, it's not just doing creative youth development for the sake of creative youth development. It's doing creative youth development for the sake of making sure that we're building sort of the leadership and the leaders that we need today, the leaders we need into the future. So we have representative government, representative leadership in Boston. So really, it's about this systems change that we pursue.
Thank you. And Emeara, in St. Louis and where you guys are, what does systems change mean to you?
Absolutely. So kind of like HSTF, Story Stitches was started, because one of the founders saw that there was a problem. She used to embroider stories from newspapers, and one day she was reading and read about two young Black girls that were just sitting on their porch and were hit by stray bullets, and one sister died because of that. And it touched Susan in a very passionate way, because she has daughters, so her heart went out to that mother. But from that, they developed Story Stitchers, long story short, and really wanted to give the youth a chance to be vocal, a chance to be heard, because they seen the power in that, and they felt that that was the only way that we were going to be able to help our city change. That was the only way that they felt people were going to listen. If the youth were at the forefront, but they had professionals behind them, teaching them and supporting them and showing them, how to approach these things. So we've always had a focus on gun violence, but lately we kind of switched it up a little bit. We'd always do songs about, stopping the violence. We always have poems about, racial injustices, or, just the everyday things that, a youth would have to face in the urban life, and just the city life in St. Louis, and just kind of bringing that to the forefront of people's attention who may not experience those things, and that was always kind of how we approached it until right before COVID hit. And we thought of the great idea of doing podcasts, youth-led podcasts. And we was like, when it came to us, it was like, this might work, and it came at the perfect time, because like I said, it was right before COVID, but we were able to do everything through Zoom, so like HSTF, we were able to provide Zoom as a platform for the youth to be vocal. But not only that, they got to talk about things that they felt were important, things that they wanted to see change. So For example, one of the podcasts talked about sexual education, and the youth were very heavy on that because they felt like nobody was talking to them about this. Only thing they ever heard was don't do it, or like it was never like in detail, like why shouldn't I do it, or if I do it, what happens, like if this happens, then what do I do next, so things like that. Or even like they wanted to talk about everybody at one point, and still kind of are talking about defunding the police. Well, they wanted to know, what does that mean? What does that look like? How would you even do something like that? And you know, us being youth, we knew that we didn't know it all. So in these conversations, we invite professionals from like hospitals, or, people that have been in marches, or, orchestrated those types of things, So we're reaching out to professionals in these different areas to come in and actually help us talk about these things, to find possible solutions, or to gain more clarity and knowledge, And so that's how we've kind of been trying to drive and shoot for change, other than our normal like pick the city up tour, going around and just still giving youth that platform to express themselves through the arts, So that's kind of what it's been looking like for us a little bit. And I think we're doing well in the city, because more and more people are, kind of hopping on the same boat. And that's a beautiful thing to see, especially a citywide thing, So yeah, I'll stop talking. So yeah.
Thank you. And I love that both of you really talked about how systems change comes from the young people and what is personal to them. And then, Emeara, I'll just pick up what you just said. How many people get on the boat? How many people jump on the boat? Arielle, anything you want to add here?
Yeah, I'll just say that as Celina lifted earlier about the various tiers and systems, like, and levels of ways to affect systems change, civic systems change, in addition to macro systems change. And I'll just like give a brief like sense of how we understand that. And also, I just want to echo what Anne just said, that like the curiosity of young people as a resource for systems change, as a major resource for systems change. Yeah, to allow us to recalibrate to fully understanding and plainly articulating what's wrong and what's not working, and what needs to be transformed. So we understand, we make this delineation between civic systems change and macro systems change. And it's really just a way to help you understand, give you a framework that you might plug into. So we think of civic systems change as programs and efforts that are intersecting with policy at local, regional, state, national levels, in education systems and carceral systems. Yeah, so and at foster systems, a number of civically built and enforced systems. And then we also think about macro systems change, which is really about larger, longer standing, sometimes systems that are really fundamental to the world we live in. Systems of racial injustice, right? Systems of gender injustice, systems of disability injustice, systems that reify the marginalization of people. And thinking of it in those kind of more broad senses allows us to really hear from you and hear from your young people about how you're approaching change, right? Some young people might be looking at trying to affect systems change at this level that Emeara is lifting, that is really centering yeah, racial injustice in the world. And then other young people are taking on policy work alongside that. And we see that at Hyde Square Task Force. So there's the opportunity to opt into identifying with both categories or a single one. And we're always happy to be in conversation about that. Yeah.
Thank you. And we also know at the Lewis Prize, it takes everyone to change systems. And so we're doing that look at philanthropy, looking in at ourselves. And we've been involved in some internal racial equity work at the Lewis Prize this year, as well as constantly hearing from all of you what systems change and equity look like so that we can all move together. We're going to hear from you in just about 2 or 3 minutes, so place those questions in the chat. And Celina, Emeara, just from this conversation, thank you for sharing so much in your own words and your own authentic story. Is there anything else that you just want to make sure people hear today as we're present with each other?
I guess I would say that, you know, some of the most powerful sort of results that you can get out of this work is really when I think it's key that you have a number of caring adults, right, who are really taking the time to listen. Is how do I take sort of that tendency that we have as adults that care about young people? Why else would we get involved in working with them? But adultism is real, it's there. And so how do you make sure you become very self-aware of that, take it off, right? And really be able to open your heart, your mind to what young people have to say. And then I think recognize that young people need to have the skills and to build sort of their toolbox, right? By which they're going to be able to tackle these changes that we're all in the pursuit of. But here is an opportunity to partner with them and to use creativity as a mechanism by which we'll get there. And so I think, you know, I used to be pretty much, and you know this if you sort of know my story, and I've shared it with the Lewis Prize, I am not a creative myself, right? That's not my background. That's not my training. And I used to be pretty agnostic as to, you know, positive youth development is positive youth development. And now I can tell you, I'll stand in any podium you want me to, and I'll say, it's creative youth development. But I think it's because of the power that I've seen of what happens to young people when you give them that space to tap into who they are, let them express themselves. And then if you help them take it one step further and say, you know what, we don't have to be satisfied with the inequities that we see in the world. There is racism, there is classism, there's all these isms, and we don't just have to accept them as that is what it is. We can change it. And then you got to show them how. So that's what I would say. I'm just I'm a convert.
Absolutely. I would say to everyone listening, you know, it sometimes it may not seem like it, but I think the youth that you're serving probably really appreciate everything that you're trying to do and everything that you're already doing, you know. So I just kind of want to encourage everybody, you know, to like keep going, keep pushing, keep striving. Like, you know, your vision isn't impossible. You know, so yeah, those are my words, because, you know, I know sometimes it could get just really hard to see that vision that you once had. And, you know, when it gets fuzzy, sometimes it's easier to give up. But I just want to encourage everybody to keep on going, to keep doing what you're doing. It pays off.
Thank you for grounding us in hope and in gratitude. I'm going to invite our colleague, Shanika John Jordan, into the conversation, who's going to help us with Q&A.
Yes, indeed. And this was excellent. Thank you, Celina, Emeara, Arielle, and for just this fruitful discussion. As Ed mentioned, if you do have questions, we invite you to put them into the Q&A. And one question I'm going to begin with is for Arielle, and this is regarding the data that we're collecting. The question is, will the rubric for this year's application process play a role with the data that has been collected?
Right, from the field survey. We're not sure yet. I mean, I think what I can say is that we're learning a lot from the information that came in through really this field survey that for folks who aren't familiar was an opportunity for us to ask the field what work has happened, what work they've been showing up for over the last year, looking at the uprisings that happened and the pandemic that we are living through. CYD organizations extraordinarily showed up for their communities. And yeah, and so we're learning a lot from that and look forward to sharing more about those learnings. But we will not be publishing our rubric until after our awards are made. So it will be published at the same time that we make our announcements for this year's Accelerator Awards.
Thank you so much. And published along with the other application process materials. We like to be very transparent. And if you are curious about our application process in the past, we invite you to visit our website. If you scroll or toggle to the section pertaining to the past awardees, you'll see a broad range of information regarding our process for 2021 as well as 2020. So we invite you to visit our website and just dig through the information about our journey up to this point. The next question I have is for Celina. This person said that the examples of CYD resulting in systems change were so great. How did music tie into these two campaigns?
So those particular two campaigns, I can't sort of tie them as closely, and that is because we've evolved over time. But I can tell you how we're utilizing music now. So we are very intentional about focusing on Afro-Latin arts, and so Afro-Latin music, right, in this case, which means a lot for us because it's music that typically is not represented in the mainstream. But yet it's music that our young people grow up listening to, right? It is part of who they are, their authentic selves, their core, who they are. And so we bring that and we center it, right? That becomes primary. And then also by studying sort of the history of Afro-Latin music, we're starting to raise consciousness. So I think music becomes a vehicle by which consciousness gets raised, which then becomes a way by which our young people then begin to ask tough questions and really begin to identify issues that they want to focus on, where they would like to sort of dedicate their energy on campaigns where they want to see change happen. The other thing that we've been doing more of lately is making sure that they're also using music to tell their stories. These become very powerful ways for young people to, talk about sort of the inequities, the things that they see. So that becomes important. So instead of thinking, okay, our campaigns, our youth organizing happens on the side, they're interconnected. And so it's finding that intersection. And so we're doing better and better at doing that. And so oftentimes, pre-pandemic, we had gotten into a good rhythm where at the end of a cycle of programming, our young people would put together pieces that combined all three art forms. But those pieces were really about making sure that the audience was asking themselves the hard questions and grappling with all these issues that our young people care about. So it's really very interrelated now. Really, we're not thinking of it as, the creative part happens here, and then systems change happens here, but it's that intersection.
And Emeara, I know you pointed to podcast and we saw a music video, but anything about the role of music in your work?
Absolutely. Music is actually how we got started. What helped us like get this far. That's like the main thing. And like I said a little bit earlier, we focus a lot on gun violence, and gun violence prevention, I should say. Like the song "Who's Ready" that was made back in 2018. And that, for me personally, that song, that project came at a very, very timely time. Because that summer I had experienced not one, not two, but 4 people close to me had been, killed by gun violence, and so I was like, like how to cope with this, but then we were able to, I was actually an intern at Story Stitchers at that time, and we were able to, we did a song workshop basically, because we wanted something more kind of chanty. And I was able to put everything into that song, because like right when I heard it, it was "Who's ready? We ready for the violence to stop." Like, I could relate to that like so much. So I was like, yeah, like got my notepad, like I'm ready. So things like that. And I think for other youth too, like having projects like that where you get to write, because we do a lot of collective things. Like there's at least like 3 to 4 people on each song, so being able to, is again like you being able to relate and knowing that you're not alone with dealing with a lot of these things, especially like something as heavy as gun violence, or whatever else you may be dealing with that we talk about in these songs. They definitely help us to heal and to go out and help heal our communities as well. So yeah, music definitely plays a big role in Story Stitchers.
That's fantastic. Very fantastic. Next question that we have is, what does youth leadership look like for your particular organization?
And I think we'll end with this question. So this is our final question. We've pointed to a lot of things, but youth leadership in your most pithy, awesome leadership answer, what would you say?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and answer this one too, and let Celina end us off. Honestly, like I said earlier, I'm like a walking testament of Story Stitchers and what youth leadership looks like. And for me, it's actually like really like a blessing, because I never thought that I'd be in any position like this, especially not at this age. So it's really like a blessing, and it's so encouraging for me to be able to encourage the other people that's in Story Stitchers with me, that's grown up in this organization, other people like Brandon, who is now on staff as well, just being able to, you don't think about it like that, but it's like a promotion. And it's like when these things happen, you've always been like sort of like a pillar in your community, just going around starting off with just singing these songs and doing these dances out at community events. But now you get to like come back to youth who are now 16, they where you started at, and you get to tell them like, hey, come join us, like come do your stuff here, like it's a good place, you can grow, you can have fun, like look, you can say like, look at me, like I'm having fun still, it works, it keeps you out of trouble, like let's grow together, let's change our community together, so like I'm definitely like a walking testament of what youth leadership looks like for St. Louis Story Stitchers.
So to top that one, because Emeara, I think you're exactly what I think. When I think about youth leadership, I think about, really those leaders coming back and they're taking over, they're doing it. And, at Hyde Square Task Force, we have 3 of our alumni who are now board members. So I love saying, you know, our youth leaders are my bosses, right? They're holding me accountable. But, you know, it really starts, you know, while young people are in the program, right? When you start seeing them. And I love it in a simple, sort of very simple example, right? When they first start with us, they will hardly look at me, right? It's like avoid my sight, you know, it's like they kind of, but not really. There's a lot of shyness. But by the time they're done with like 3 sessions, 2 sessions, all of a sudden it's like, wait, who are you again? And what are you doing here? And I'm like, I love it, right? It's like this ownership of this place is mine. And then taking that on to different levels, right? Whether it is, you know, right now we have, because we've been around for 30 years, we have young people who are leaders in their corporations where they work. They're, you know, running for office. I mean, all these different things. And I'm like, that's what it is. That's what it is. You know, we were working on sort of making sure that we have young people who grow into the leaders that we need, but also demonstrate their leadership today. And I think that's important, right? Not just thinking about the future, but it's also today.
Well, the young people in Boston and in St. Louis are very lucky to be working with both of you. Thank you, Celina. Thank you, Emeara. Thank you, Arielle, for this really wonderful conversation. Thank you, everyone, for the work you do with young people and for being here and dedicating the time. Just a reminder, keep things in your own words. Let us know who your young people are, what you care about. Put it in your own words, in your own way. We look forward to meeting all of you more. And if you have questions, reach out. You can find the information on the website, but info@theLewisPrize.org. If you don't know what to do, Ann@theLewisPrize.org, and I'll lead the way. Follow us on social media, stay connected so that we can all, as a community, keep the work strong for young people. And we're going to close it out with hearing the song that Emeara talked about, Who's Ready? And thanks so much, everyone, for being with us. Take care.
Yeah. I've been drowning in sorrow-filled water fountains, not asking for pity parties, no pardon partners around, and I've calculated the odds, but what good is no one to count when I count it up, count it down. I've already been counted out, it don't matter. Show too much of my valor, give up at hard times I had them, but from the data I've gathered, rumor has it the captured act like they captors, the captors act like they captured. They never been down with movement unless the movement is backwards, but I'm ready.
Be ready for the violence to stop. Get ready for change to come. Who's ready? We're ready for a revolution. Who's ready? We're ready for the violence to stop.
Who's ready?
We're ready.
Who's ready?
We're ready.
We're ready.
We're ready for the violence to stop.
I said who's ready?
We're ready.
Who's ready?
We're ready.
We're ready.
We're ready for the violence to stop.
Looking at my city and I see it is in trouble. Instead of facing each other, they out here facing muzzles. People dropping left to right, I'm seeing families crumble. We gotta help each other cause we're all part of the struggle. While we hurting each other, I look and I see double. There's so much hurt and hopelessness that lies beneath the rubble. But if we set aside the differences, we can make change. We just gotta be humble, make our way through the rain. Cause I don't know about you, but I'm tired of seeing pain. The gang banging is old, gun violence is beyond lane. If we're not trying to save our city, then we're living in vain. Cause people out are taking lives like it's a video game. What I'm saying isn't make-believe, cause anything is possible. And if we work together, we can obliterate these obstacles. So put the gun down, get up, and join this movement. Cause there's strength in numbers, so let's get to it.
Be ready for the violence to stop. Get ready for change to come. Who's ready? We're ready for a revolution.
Who's ready?
We're ready for the violence to stop.
Who's ready?
We're ready.
Who's ready?
We're ready. We're ready for the violence to stop.
I said who's ready?
We're ready.
Who's ready?
We're ready.
We're ready.
We're ready for the violence to stop.
With the R-E-Volution, the kids of the future, the change to come. Put the gun down, stop aiming at our heads. Don't put us in the dirt, feeling like the target on a storage stitcher shirt. But we can talk it out, we should talk it out. Listen, shh, can't you hear our voices now singing? We should overcome any stereotype. Not the ones to conform, but to give off light. We have the power in our hands, so we the people need to vote. The biggest generation has the hardest time trying to cope with pain. Seems like every other day it rains in my hood, but somehow we still singing that it's all good. It's not. Black on black crimes got our city in the prime of its worst time. I'm hurt time cause we flirt time with a beast. Instead of slaying Goliath, think I'm playing about the streets. Don't give up on this now, this is something unique.
Violence. Put down the gun, we will not be silent. It's time for revolution, no more violence. Put down the gun, we will not be silent. It's time for revolution. Be ready, be ready, be ready for violence to stop. Get ready, get ready, get ready for change to come. Who's ready? We ready, we ready for revolution. Who's ready? Who's ready? We ready, we ready for the violence to stop.
Who's ready?
Take care, everyone.